Hello, friends and family. How's everybody doing tonight? I hope you're all well. I'm doing pretty good myself. Welcome back, or if you're new here, just welcome. I am Texas Beach Mom, or Mama Robin, whichever you prefer. And I am back with a Friday night video. Now, normally on Friday nights, we do something a little bit different, or we do like the Lady Bird Lake drownings, or mysterious deaths at Lady Bird Lake, men that come up missing. And it's not just Lady Bird Lake, it's a bunch of other lakes in other states. And, 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 um, the Menendez brothers. Sometimes we talk about them. Well, here lately, I've been hearing a lot of stuff about women going to job interviews for warehouse jobs or simply the interviews at a warehouse. I'm not sure yet. But young women are going to job interviews via the site Indeed, and they're coming up missing. Now, like I said, I don't know if the interview is at the warehouse or the job is supposed to be at a warehouse. So that kind of raised suspicions right there, in my opinion, because there's not that many young women that I can think of. Not necessarily saying that never or doesn't happen, but I can't think of a lot of young women right now in our current time that would be looking for warehouse work. However, if the pay is high enough, I could see it happening. So there's been lots of stories circulating, TikTok, Reddit, stuff like that, Instagram, about women going to job interviews via Indeed and not coming back. So at first I didn't think a whole lot about it. I thought, okay, this is obviously bullshit. And I'm still questioning the validity of it. But I decided to do a little bit of research. So after doing research on 35 different websites, busy, I kind of have this little report that I've worked up. Because I want to get to the bottom of this, kind of like I do the Lady Bird Lake thing. So, with that being said, we're going to talk about this tonight. And let me highlight, just in case you've missed part of this conversation, or just sitting down, there have been reports, whether or not they're true, I don't know, of young women going to job interviews at warehouses, either because it's a warehouse job or for whatever reason they're doing the interview at a warehouse. And they're going to, they're finding these jobs offers on Indeed. So they're going to these interviews at these warehouses and they're not coming back. I don't know how true it is, but let's go over what I do have. A comprehensive report on online job scams, disappearances, and safety protocols. Executive summary. The report addresses public concerns regarding viral claims of young women disappearing after job interviews sourced from Indeed, specifically focusing on reports from Atlanta. It provides a factual assessment of these claims and, more broadly, details the significant risks associated with online job scams, including their dangerous nexus of human trafficking. Investigations by law enforcement agencies, including the Sandy Springs Police Department, the Georgia Bureau of Investigations, and the FBI in Atlanta, have confirmed that the widespread social media claims about 17 women going missing after an Indeed job interviews in Atlanta are false and unverified. Indeed itself has stated no credible evidence or official reports to support these allegations. Okay, so we already have an answer on this. However, and I'm not saying that they are false, and I'm not saying they're not false. I do want to make a point. There have been so many men come up missing, Lady Bird Lake and other lakes, other states. We've discussed them. And the police, the FBI, everybody goes, nope, these are just accidental drownings, but these men keep coming up missing. So it would not be too far out of the realm of possibility for this to be happening to women. You get what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying that these are true. This report says they're not. I'm not saying they're not true, but I'm not saying they are true. I don't have proof either way. But it does make me question it because I do know for a fact that a lot of these drownings, these accidental drownings, missing men, are being written off immediately as accidental drownings, and none of us believe it, or most of us don't. I don't know about everybody, but I know I don't. I know that most people watching this case or following this case doesn't believe it either. They find that very interesting. These men are coming up missing, and apparently they drowned. So it's not out of the realm of possibility, you know, if these women are coming up missing and the police and the FBI and whoever are going, no, no, it's false. It's false. So while this report says that it is false, we honestly don't know that anymore because so much of this does happen. So I'll continue. While the specific Atlanta claims are unsubstantiated, the reality of online job scams and potential to lead to financial fraud, identity theft, and human trafficking is a serious and growing threat. The report outlines common scam tactics, they're linked to forced labor and sex trafficking, and provides essential safety guidelines and reporting resources for job seekers. So, again, even while these are not substantiated, there are risks involved with young women just showing up at a warehouse 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning or 8 o'clock at night. I would not go to a job interview in a warehouse at 8 o'clock at night to save my life. I'd be like, you know what, I'll look for another job. But, and I don't know what times these are happening. I don't have that kind of detail yet. But I have been hearing different stories. And again, these are mostly from Instagram, TikTok, Reddit. So I don't have a lot of faith. When I first started hearing about it, I kind of just blew it off because of the sources. But because I'm seeing it pop up more and more and more, which I know part of that's the algorithm, I get it. But because I do see it pop up more and more, it does make me wonder, is this similar to the men drowning? You know, is this a thing? So, introduction. Addressing concerns on online job interviews and disappearances. The digital age has profoundly transformed the landscape of job seeking, offering unprecedented access to a vast array of opportunities across various industries and geographies. Geographies. However, this increased connectivity also introduces new and sophisticated avenues for exploitation. Public concern, often amplified by the rapid dissemination of information through social media platforms, can arise from unverified reports regarding safety risks within this online environment. The inquiry prompting this report reflects a legitimate concern about the safety of individuals, particularly women, engaging in online job searches. And that kind of, well, I mean, yeah, that's a thing. Because if you think about it, when I was growing up, one of the things we were taught was don't get in a car with strangers. We take Uber all the time. Don't take food from strangers. We do that now. There's so much that technology has advanced, and the way it has shaped our lives introduces, while it introduces a lot of convenience, it also introduces more danger. Let's see. Public concern. Where did I leave off out on my little notes here? Reports current safety risks within the environment. The inquiry prompting the report reflects a legitimate. Robin, you come on. Legitimate concern about the safety of individuals, particularly women, engaged in online job searches. Okay, I had read that. This concern is well founded given the documented rise in online fraud and human trafficking, even with specific viral claims proved to be unfounded. The report aims to provide a clarity on such concerns and offer actionable information to enhance the safety in the digital job market. Fact check. See, I don't know why I do this, because I can't obviously I can't read out loud. Fact check. The Atlanta Indeed missing persons claims. Widespread social media posts, particularly on platforms like TikTok, have circulated claims since April 2024, alleging that 17 individuals, predominantly women, disappeared in Atlanta after attending job interviews arranged through the online platform Indeed. These claims quickly gained traction, generating considerable public alarm and anxiety. And I don't know how hard it would be to post a job posting on Indeed, have it look legitimate, everything looked legitimate, the warehouse or whatever, the business looks legitimate, have women show up to these places and then disappear. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how hard it would be to do that, how hard it would be to use that platform, post your job listing, get women to show up for these interviews, and then something happens to them. Indeed, the platform at the center of the claims also released an official statement. A company spokesperson affirmed the awareness of the circulating claims, but asserted that they have seen no evidence to support them and have not received any official reports or been contacted by any law enforcement regarding the allegations. Okay, now that's in their favor, because I would think, let's say Sally has a job interview at a warehouse via the website, Indeed. She finds a job and she's supposed to go to some warehouse. She's going to tell somebody. Like, she's going to tell her mom, her dad, her brother, her best friend, somebody. Boyfriend, husband. Unless she is a recluse, she's going to tell somebody, hey, look, I've got a job interview today. She's going to be excited about it. She's going to be like, I got a job interview today. I got to go to this warehouse at 8 a.m., blah, 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 to meet with this woman to talk about my job, da-da-da-da-da. So that does bode well. If you put that together, if you put that in some thought about, I'm going to go do this and I'm going to go to this warehouse, unless this person, though, knows, okay, let's see, Sally tells her boyfriend. But unless she tells her boyfriend the name of this warehouse, the address of the warehouse, and the phone number, and the contact information, all he knows is that she went to some warehouse and didn't come back. If he files a missing persons report and doesn't mention the warehouse, or they don't know what warehouse, or whatever, I think y'all know where I'm trying to go with this. Again, I'm not real sure of the validity of these because of where they originally came from. But I did, after hearing so many, I did think it was worth kind of looking into a little bit, see what we could find. Police departments have urged the public to verify information through official channels before sharing it, emphasizing that the unverified stories can cause undue concern and unnecessary panic within the communities. The rapid and extensive spread of these unverified claims across social media platforms like TikTok highlights a significant challenge in controlling misinformation, especially when it pertains to public safety and sensitive topics such as disappearances. The phenomenon can lead to widespread public anxiety and divert critical law enforcement resources that would otherwise be dedicated to genuine investigations. When official bodies must repeatedly clarify false narratives, it implies a substantial drain on the operational capacity, including the time of the personnel required for the inquiries and public messaging. Furthermore, a constant barrage of unverified alerts risks desensitizing the public. I kind of think we're kind of desensitized a little bit already. Potentially leading to a cry wolf effect, where the individuals become less responsive or trusting of legitimate warnings about genuine dangers, thereby undermining collective safety efforts. Okay, now I get that too, because if there's a bunch of false reports of women coming up missing and it's not happening, people aren't going to trust it. They read it or they hear about it or whatever, and they'll go, oh, all these others have been bullshit. This is probably bullshit too. So I I see that. I see how that works. The reality of online job scams, a growing threat. While specific Atlanta claims regarding disappearances linked to Indeed interviews are unsubstantiated, it is crucial to recognize that the online job scams represent a very real and prevalent danger to the job seekers face. These fraudulent schemes are often highly sophisticated, meticulously designed to exploit individuals' financial vulnerabilities and inherent trust of legitimate employment opportunities. The prevalence financial impact of these scams are substantial. In 2024, employment scams remain the second most common scam type in the United States, accounting for approximately 14% of all reported scams, with a median loss of $1,500 per victim. The Better Business Bureau reported a staggering $2 billion in direct losses annually due to recruitment scams, noting that a 250% increase in job scams during the initial quarter of 2023 compared to the previous year. The scale of the problem is further illustrated by local data. In 2023, the Edmonton Police Service alone received 148 reports of employment scams, resulting in a total of financial loss of $359,000. That's a lot of money in fraudulent employment scams. Again, even if these bodies aren't coming up missing, just some of these scams are bad enough. Like, you know what I'm saying? So there's danger apparently that lurks everywhere. You can't go to job interviews, you can't go to lake, you can't go bar hopping, you can't go anywhere, you can't do anything because what might happen to you. The rise in job scams is directly linked to a challenging economic climate characterized by high inflation and rising expenses. Scammers strategically exploit the desperation of vulnerable job seekers facing immediate financial pressure. Okay, so yeah, then again, like the comment I made earlier about I don't know that many young women that are going to go work for a warehouse or do warehouse work. If you're facing losing your place to live, you're a single mom, I can see where that's a thing. Financial pressure. They might be more inclined to overlook the warning signs or accept offers that appear to be too good to be true. This highlights a systematic vulnerability that criminal actors actively leverage. The consequences of falling victims to job scams extend far beyond monetary losses. Individuals who are defrauded often experience several mental and health challenges, including anxiety, depression, and a profound loss of confidence. Moreover, the stigma associated with being scammed frequently prevents the individuals from seeking help or speaking out. That's a big thing already. That happens a lot to people. If they get scammed and stuff, they don't want to tell anybody, and they're embarrassed. This means the true scale of the problem, both in terms of financial human cost, is likely underestimated, impacting the accuracy of data for the law enforcement and support organizations. Okay, common online job scams and red flags. Red flag category: unsolicited contact, too good to be true offers. Specific indicators: usually high salaries, excessive perks, promise of easy workish hours, especially for the unqualified candidate, immediate acceptance in a program or a job without thorough review of qualifications. So, if you are qualified to be a janitor and you apply for an upper management position with a company, you fill out an application, you know you're not qualified for it, you have no experience in it whatsoever, you've been a janitor for the last 5 years and that's all you've ever done, and then you get brave and you fill out an application like I said, to be a supervisor in a warehouse because it's offering good money. So you fill in the application online and you get a call back and they're saying, yeah, we went over your application and we think you'd be great. Why don't you meet us at blah, blah, blah warehouse on this date and time? People probably should go, hold on a minute, I have no experience, but they're offering me $37 an hour instead of the $10 an hour I'm currently making. And they're going to give me these hours and this days off and these perks and this and that and the other. Yeah, it's probably a good idea to check the validity of the ad or whatever. While some fraudulent job listings may appear completely real looking, featuring company logos and detailed descriptions, the persistence of common warning signs across various sources suggests a fundamental reliance on psychological manipulation rather than purely technical sophistication. Scammers often depend on the job seekers overlooking the three basic inconsistencies, banking on the desperation or lack of awareness to bypass fundamental warnings. So yeah, if you've been like I said, the example I used, if you've been a warehouse worker for the last 5 years and you've never done anything else, you don't have any experience in anything else, and you apply for an upper level management position at a warehouse, just kind of a fingers crossed, and then they promise you all kinds of perks and shit, it's probably wise to check that out. That would be a common sense thing. Furthermore, the analysis of the schemes reveals that many scam types, such as check fraud, money laundering, or reshipping, cryptocurrency scams, and identity theft, often overlap or are used in conjunction with a single job offer. For instance, a scenario might involve money being transferred for equipment and then reflected via cryptocurrency, or a check scam transitioning into demands for money transfers. This indicates a complex, multifaceted criminal enterprise rather than isolated incident. Excuse me. The layering allows I cannot read. Okay, let me just. That sentence just seemed messed up to me. Either that or my eyes went crazy for a second. Okay, the grave-linked job scams and human trafficking. Beyond the financial fraud, one of the most severe and alarming risks associated with fraudulent job offers is their direct link to human trafficking. I don't know about everywhere else, but I know Texas sees a lot of human trafficking cases. Lots and lots and lots and lots and lots. I don't know about everywhere else, but I know Texas does. Traffickers exploit the vulnerabilities of job seekers, luring them with false promises into situations of forced labor or sex trafficking. Human trafficking is defined as an illegal exploitation of a person involving the use of force, fraud, or coercion to compel individuals to work for and engage in commercial sex acts. This pervasive crime encompasses two primary forms. Labor trafficking. This occurs when individuals are compelled by force, threats, or fraud to perform labor or services frequently with little to no pay. This category also includes domestic servitude, where the individuals are controlled and exploited within a household. Sex trafficking. This involves compelling individuals through force, fraud, or coercion to engage in commercial sex acts. A critical distinction under the federal law is that for minors or individuals under 18, where the element of force, fraud, and coercion does not need to be proven, age alone is sufficient to classify the situation as sex trafficking. False jobs advertisements serve as a primary and highly effective recruitment tool for traffickers. These deceptive offers often promise unusually high salaries, lucrative benefits, and even paid travel expenses, making it appear exceptionally attractive to unsuspecting job seekers. So again, that's doing a little bit of research, using a little common sense, checking things out before you go. especially if you know you're not qualified for it. A particularly concerning development highlighted by the FBI is the emergence of the Southeast Asia-based scam compounds. In these compounds, victims initially lured by the false job advertisements for roles such as tech support, call center, customer service, or beauty salon technicians. Oh wow! See, the call center support, I get, but the beauty technicians, okay. Are held against their will and forced to commit international cryptocurrency investment fraud schemes. This represents an insidious and evolving form of labor trafficking where the victims are trafficked to become perpetrators of scams, thereby creating a self-perpetrating cycle of victimization and criminal activity. The concept of these scams compounds is a distinct and alarming evolution of labor trafficking. It signifies a shift from traditional forced labor in a physical industry to forced digital criminality, where victims are not only exploited but are also coerced into legal acts, potentially facing legal repercussions themselves. This adds to the complex layer of trauma and legal vulnerability, distinguishing it from other forms of labor exploitation and highlighting the emerging global threat. Once lured into these situations, victims are subjected to various coercive tactics designed to maintain control and prevent their escape. Confiscation of passports and identity documents. This is a common tactic that severely restricts the victim's freedom, movement, and ability to seek help or escape. And there's different examples on the various types of job fraud. But that was not originally what this was about. Like I said, there's been several videos, reports, whatever, on Reddit, TikTok, Instagram, a few on Facebook. So I don't wholly trust it. But it did make me wonder, is this possibly going on? Are there young women that are showing up at these warehouses for a job and then not getting out of there alive, or getting out of there alive but not going home? They're sent to another country to be prostitutes or whatever the hell's going on. So while the FBI claim and the local police claim that there's no proof there, and Indeed's not going to want their name in the middle of that. They're going to go, no, we don't know anything about this. There's no proof this ever happened. It does make me wonder. It does make me wonder how possible it is. Because when I first heard about the men drowning at Lady Bird Lake, I was like, what? This has got to be some bullshit. As a matter of fact, the first time I heard about those drownings was from my daughter. And because she's a conspiracy theory nut. Now, I'm not saying that she believes all of them, but she likes reading about them and stuff. I typically don't, but she does. So we were talking about conspiracy theories one night, and she said, oh, did you know about the Lady Bird Lake deaths? And I said, what? And she said, the Lady Bird Lake, there's lots of men drowning on Lady Bird Lake. And I went, Alyssa, like, seriously? And she's like, I'm serious. She goes, I know I read all the conspiracy theory stuff, and I know that a lot of it's not true. She said, but this one I think is. So that's when I started doing research on my own. After I did some research on my own, I thought, this needs to be talked about. And then I discovered there's lots of channels talking about it, or maybe not lots. In comparison to other crimes, there's not very much. But that's kind of what got started, was my daughter going, Mom, maybe you should check, and since you do a true crime thing, maybe you should check into this. And that's how it started. Because like I said, she likes that stuff. She likes listening to the stories on podcasts. Podcast stories and stuff. And that's her thing. Some of it she believes in, and some of it she doesn't. This one I'm glad she brought to my attention. But because those started out potentially as rumors with no validity behind them, and police denying that they happened, with police and FBI going, nope, these guys just drowned. And families going, no, they didn't. Now, see, that's another thing. I've not seen any reports from any families yet. I've seen people on videos talking about, well, my friend's friend went to an interview at a warehouse and never came back. That kind of story. So that does have less validity than drownings. But if there's only been 17 cases so far, if this starts happening in other states, it may end up being a thing. Kind of like Lady Bird Lake is a thing. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. It could be. I don't see any proof of it yet. But when I started seeing more and more of this pop up in my, on my For You pages and whatnot, again, and I know a lot of that's algorithm. What I get shown or what pops up is based on the algorithm, and I get that. But as I'm seeing more and more people talk about it, and I'm seeing other stories pop up in other platforms, I'm going, is there something to this? Do we have women who are desperately in need of work? Because they're trying to provide for their children. They're single moms, usually, I would think. Do we have women showing up to job interviews and not being heard from ever again? Did they not tell somebody they were going on a job interview? Did they not follow up? Or, I mean, what's going on here? Is there any validity to these stories at all? And if so, are these women just not being careful? I would think, as I said earlier, I would think that if I was needing a job and my family knew I was needing a job, or my boyfriend knew or my neighbor, whoever, the babysitter, somebody had to watch the kids while she went on the job. If in situations where there are kids, it's not happening just to women with children, if it's happening at all. But I would think the excitement of having an interview, especially if it's promising, good salaries and good days off, and you can fly free, and you can do this, and you can do that, and you can do the other. I would think that people would be excited, and they would tell whoever that they were going on this interview. By the same token, though, like I said, and I used the example of the janitor a couple times, right? If that's the only experience you have, or if you've been a cashier at McDonald's for the last 5 years, and you're applying for an upper level management position at a warehouse or a factory or whatever, and they're promising you this much money and these kind of benefits and this kind of insurance and whatever the perks are, I could see you trying for it. But at the same time, I would hope that if something sounds too good to be true, that you are checking it out. That would be my hope. But I just thought that was worth covering tonight, and I thought we would look into that a little bit. And if anybody has any stories about that, or heard them, read them, knows anybody that's actually happened to, let me know in the comments, because I find it kind of to fall along in the same category of the accidental drownings. So yeah, if you've read it, you've heard about it, you've got to know anyone that it's actually happened to, talk about it in the comments. Tell me about it. Talk to each other about it. Let people know. Because if there is something going on here, we need to get on this. We need to figure out what it is. We need to figure out how to put a stop to it. That's where we're at. If this really is happening, if this really is becoming a thing. And it's like going back to the Lady Bird Lake, the drownings and stuff. In whatever lake, whatever city, whatever state, if this is becoming a thing, and parents and family and friends are getting alarmed by it, and the police keep blowing it off, it's going to keep happening. It's going to keep happening. So that's where I'm at with this. But I think I'm going to wrap it up for tonight. I think we're going to call it good for tonight. If it's your birthday, or has been or will be coming up, happy birthday. Anniversary, happy anniversary. I hope everybody doing well. You make good choices, take good care of yourself, look out for others. Just be a good person, you know. That's all I ask. Be a good person. Anyway, gonna call it a night. Y'all have a beautiful, blessed night, a wonderful weekend, and I will be back on Wednesday. So, love y'all. Talk to you later.